found some questions after class were particularly helpful, and so I'd pass on kind of the things that I learned or troubles that people encountered, and I wanted to pass those on to you just in general. So one of the things I noticed first was just getting a graph in a reasonable window. So if you put in your function and then you put in, I have here the way I suggested in class doing the point A is A equals 2 comma f of 2. And what that does is it fixes your points exactly at 2 on that particular function, because the whole kind of construct of this is we're doing like we did today in class, where we're going to go from x equals 2 and make a secant to another line to the right of that and measure those slopes as that secant gets smaller and smaller. So the first piece is really have to have that fixed point. Making the window look better though, if you go onto the geometry button, so there's a calculator and there's a geometry button here, seen in the screen. The geometry button opens you up to tools, and you'll see these on the instruction. That crisscross here is what allows you to do all the adjusting of the screen and its size. But one of the coolest things is if you're in the wrong window, you can size it pretty strategically. You can, if you press that button, the crisscross hairs, you can pull the axes up and down in any direction. So it's like a stretchy thing. Pull it left and right any way you want to. You can zoom in with the buttons on the right hand side here, just pressing that. Or I use finger scrolling on my screen. If I just roll my fingers, kind of like when you're doing a map or something, you just double finger scroll or use the roller ball on your mouse, whatever you're using. So this is my current drawing. I have a point A that I've defined in the geometry mode as, it's the algebra mode, 2 comma f of 2, and that's a really healthy start. Now the next point B is the point we're going to do the secant through, and it would be good to define that point too, because some of you, one of the ways you can do is click on geometry, and like it says in the instructions, click on point, and just go to the graph and just click a point, and that's fine. You get a point B, and we can put a line through it, and that's actually great, and most of you have done this. You can go down here and find the line tool or the segment tool, whichever one you like, and if you just click on one and click on the other, it fixes a segment between them. And one of the pieces some of you are finding is that you could, if you click on that, oops, I always do that when I'm typing on there, if you click on an active object, like you're in a particular, like lines, segments, things like that, anywhere you click, it's going to make a new one, and it gets you all messed up. Like if I click on these while I'm in line mode, it just starts making lines all over the place. So it's really frustrating. And anytime you want to undo something, there's the undo button here, or escape gets you out of trouble too if you hit the escape button. Those are helpful. So I made a segment in there. I'm going to get information about it. If you want to interact with that segment, you want to get back to the basic tool, arrow pointer. It's really annoying, but if you get back to that, then you can click on the object and you get these options. And I used to right click, now you just click on it and it works. But settings, if you go to settings, there's all these things that you can do, and the way you define that object or get information about it. Some of you are finding that when you hit settings, you get this algebra option, and there's a way of getting the equation of that line, and that's really cool. But I was actually thinking of, I like this little icon here, this measuring your slope icon. It doesn't pop up all the time. There's a button at the bottom, like if your screen doesn't show that slope icon, we figured it out. At the very bottom, if you hit more options pop up on here that gives you the rest of your options. I don't know why they're hiding them from us. It's not like there's that many tools out there. But you can do more and you can do less. Hit more and you see more options. Hit less, you see less options for whatever reason. Okay, well, if you're clicking on an object like a segment, and again, to engage an object, you have to have the pointer, the arrow pointer tool. And I clicked on my segment. If I click on that slope line, it actually just will give me the slope of that line. Right now it's 12.26 for wherever B happens to be. If you want to move that point around and change the slope, go to the clicker tool and grab B, and I'll move it around. It'll give me the slope anywhere I make it. That's the tool I was hoping for you to engage with, is that slope tool inside there. Okay. Well, we need B to go to really specific parts. If I go to the lab here, we're going to do a secant between 2 and 2.5, an average velocity, 2 and 2.1, 2 and 2.05. If you're just sliding B around and trying to ballpark where it lands, it's kind of tricky. In algebra mode, it's a little bit better. If you click on the algebra button, the point B is defined here, and it gives you the exact x and y coordinates. So when I slide B around, you could just kind of slide it till it hits 2.1 and all that kind of stuff. It's okay. You could probably make it work. But that gets a little bit difficult, a little jumpy. So the things I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this little thing here. What I want to do is just with those 2 points, if I make a segment between them and get their slope, I want to be real specific about where B lands. You can do that. If you make B, if you actually go into algebra mode and type B equals, and then type in the x value that you want, 2.1, let's say, that's the first one, comma, same thing, f of 2.1. What that'll do is it'll land you exactly on the function f of x. I defined it as f, whatever you defined it as, maybe a different letter. 2 comma f of 2.1 puts b exactly at a right place that you want it to be. So it's not guessing anymore. So there's 2.1, and that's pretty zoomed out. I'm going to zoom in on that so I can see it really well. But that's that first secant line. I have, right now I'm not drawing the secant. I deleted it just so you can see I can put b wherever I want it if I just type it in there. Okay, so now I need to go put the secant line in there. I might use the line tool works too. That's fine. You can put a line between it, or you can do escape. You can do secant. I like the little secant line because it's more appropriate for what we're doing. Okay, if you want the slope of that secant line, oops, I got an extra object in there. One of my favorite GeoGebra features. Click on the measure tool. If measure isn't showing up, remember, hit the more button at the bottom. Click, and then click on that segment, and it will give me the slope at that particular spot and measure it for you. And I'm zoomed way out, so it's a little harder to see, but it's 30.4 is the slope of that first one. And a number of you have gotten that for various measures, but now it's precise. Now I've got B exactly at 2.1 on my curve, and I got A exactly at 2. And I'm doing my segment between A and B, and I got the exact measure being measured by using the slope button, and it's all as well. Now if you want to go to the next one, 2.05, let's go look at that real fast. 2.1, 2.5, I forgot to do 2.5. So if you want to put in 2.5, you can just go on to B and change B. So this is pretty mechanical, and it's one option that you have. There is another option of inserting a slider to make this even more slick. I'm going to leave that for those of you who want to explore that. You sure can, but let's just keep it simple right now. I just moved B to 2.5, which is a different height, and my segment has a slope of 24 now, which is a different measure. Now remember, you are finding slopes of that secant line from 2.5 to 2.1 to 2.05 to 2.01. That is meant to be very much like our lab that we did today. Let's see if I can find that for us. The secant slope, we were sliding our secants closer and closer and closer. Oops, I got a little slubbed around a little bit. Closer and closer to 2 in that lab, and we found our slope to be 12 at the exact location. They were converging on a value. Well, this will do the same in your lab. You're going to find that it converges on a particular slope of the tangent line. That's what this is mimicking. But I want to see your use of this particular tool. The goal was to get you to graph something, find a secant, play around with a couple tools on here, like slope, and do some measurement, enter points precisely, and be able to find measure between things. Just a tool that we'll use down the road, and this is your entry into that. Hope that helps a little bit. Email